second floor. Sounded out to an empty house. Was it just like you had before? Savior pulled from an open mouth. Did you want to be something more? I'm sure that someone will draw a new one and cover it before they leave. Mark my words, there's 1,000 things that don't wash out with anything. I keep you clean, you surrounded me, and my windows are breaking.
Good morning, guys. Welcome back to Sparkman Homestead. My name is Krista. Today I thought it would be super fun to do something a little new for me with you guys today. Everything, I guess, is new for me that I'm showing you. Anyways, I thought today it would be really fun to make a Southern style breakfast. I was thinking today that we could make up some tomato gravy. This, from what I've done research on, is a very popular breakfast to have in the South. Now, I am not originally from the South. I do live in Southern Kentucky, like right on the Tennessee-Kentucky border, very close to Nashville. So I did not grow up Southern. I did not grow up eating Southern style breakfasts. I grew up in a meat, potato, and pancake kind of house. My background is English and a little bit of Mennonite. So I have quite an array of ancestry, I guess, in me. However, none of it is from the South. So it is going to be very new for me today, and I hope that I do not destroy this recipe. For any of you Southerners watching this, I really hope that I don't destroy it, but it looks really, really good. And we went to a local, well, not really local, it was about an hour and a bit away. We went to a salvage store, an Amish salvage store, and this one, they had a whole bunch of like freezer stuff and like cold fridge storage stuff. So I picked up a couple of things there that I thought I could use in this particular meal. Now, normally I like to do things from scratch because I just like to know the ingredients and all that stuff, and I like to get my meat from local farmers because, again, I like to know how my meat is raised and all of that stuff. But they had a really, really good deal on these. I don't know if it's gonna focus or not. It is a flaky biscuit. I got these, I think I paid $1 for these. They expire at the end of this month. So I am gonna get these guys used up and we're gonna make these today. And then the other thing I found there was some of this bacon. So I picked this up. I need to get this made because it's been in my fridge for a couple of days thawed out. So we need to get this made. The tomato gravy that we're gonna be making today, I'm going to be putting it on top of some biscuits, and we're gonna have some bacon on the side of it. I need to actually make the bacon because the tomato gravy calls for bacon grease. So it's gonna kind of be two birds with one stone. We get our bacon grease, plus we get to eat some bacon, which there's never an issue with eating bacon I love bacon. So I thought that would be fun to do today. The other thing that we have to get done today, if you've seen my last video, we started making some beef broth together. We are on day 3 of making it. So what I have to do today, I'm actually gonna get this turned off right now. We have to get this strained out, and then once it's strained out, I'm actually gonna put it in my fridge probably for about 24 hours. So unfortunately, I'm not gonna get to do the canning process with you guys. And the reason that I am putting it in my fridge for 24 hours is because I want all of that fat to kind of come to the top and settle, and that way I can scrape off the fat. In the past, when making my beef broth, I have found that it ends up really fatty because I don't let it sit that time to let the fats kind of solidify. You don't want too much fat in it because that fat, it can affect the seal of the jar lids. So we're gonna get that fat drained off. I know when I was making the broth, there was a couple pieces that I put in there that were really, really fatty. They were just some beef scraps that I had saved. So I know there's definitely a lot of fat in that. So we've got to do that step. So unfortunately, again, I'm not gonna be able to show you guys the canning process of it because I'm gonna have to get that done tomorrow. But I will at least show you how I get it strained off and, you know, all of that step done. The first thing that I need to do is get my apron on, and then the second thing I need to do is get my tea ready. I literally just got in from doing my chores, and I thought I'm gonna turn the camera on because I wanna make this fun bar. I've been seeing a little bit about this tomato gravy, and I thought it would be really fun to make it with you guys. So I'm just gonna get my tea started. One thing that I have every morning is I have some yerba mate green leaf tea for breakfast. I no longer drink coffee. I've been off coffee now, I think it's been about 6 months. My body does not handle coffee good at all. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna give it a try for a couple of weeks and see how everything goes. Within a couple of weeks, more than half of my stomach issues were solved by eliminating coffee. So I love coffee, and I am very jealous of all of you guys that can drink coffee and not have any issues with it. I am not one of those lucky people. So I have found this yerba mate tea. I get it on Azure Standard. I get it in 1 pound bulk bags, and I absolutely love it. It kind of gives me that coffee, that uppity feeling you get with coffee. It doesn't give me headaches if I stop drinking it because there's no caffeine in it. It's a caffeine-free option. I absolutely love it. So I'm gonna get that tea started. The other thing that we have to do is we need to get the bacon put into the oven. I already have my oven preheated at 400 degrees. Just get this. This has to steep for about 10 minutes. So I'm just gonna get this water poured in here. I'm just gonna get this bacon put on the cookie sheet here. Now, as I was saying, I did not grow up eating Southern food because I'm not from the South. I'm Canadian. So a lot of my ancestors actually came from England, and I do have a couple of ancestors that are actually Pennsylvania Dutch. My great grandmother was Pennsylvania Dutch. So it's far down the line, but you know what's crazy? And I was just thinking about this and telling Stephen this the other day. I really think that some of the things that our ancestors, like the characteristics and just cultural things, some of it is really genetic. All of my ancestors, I did this really cool thing. I went on to ancestry.com and I actually signed up for it. I think I was on it for like maybe a year. I did some research on my ancestors and just kind of looking at all of the records that were kept on both sides, my maternal and my paternal, my dad's side and my mom's side. Almost all of them were farmers. And I said to Stephen, I go, that must be something genetic. It really must be, because I just have such an urge to farm. They did a study, I remember learning about this in high school, and it was called Nurture versus Nature. And it was just kind of saying, like, what your parents teach you versus what genetically you kind of have. And I thought, this is really almost a nature thing for me, because I feel like I am meant to farm. It's very weird. Anyways, let's get this bacon in the oven. We'll the timer for about 25 minutes. I'll come and check it. Bacon, I just kind of go with what I smell and I just keep checking it. Sometimes I like a crispy bacon and sometimes I like, you know, a more softer bacon. It all depends on my mood. So today I'm kind of feeling like in the middle. So we'll just keep checking on it. I'm gonna get these guys started once the bacon is done. We can't get the tomato gravy started until, again, bacon is done because we need that bacon grease. Let's go and grab the tomatoes though. This recipe calls for diced tomatoes, which is perfect because we need to get some of ours used up in the pantry. It calls for 2 14-ounce jars. So you need 2 14-ounce jars of diced tomatoes unseasoned. So we just grabbed some from our pantry. These are unseasoned, unsalted, literally just diced tomatoes. So that works perfect. I'm wanting to get these used up because again, we're just starting gardening season. So I'm gonna be canning more tomatoes this year. So we'll get those used up. The other thing we'll do while we're cooking the bacon is we're gonna get this stock strained up. It's kind of a procedure because I strained it a couple of times. I'll show you guys how. I have my big water bath canner stock pot. I don't have a bigger stock pot than this. This is my biggest one I have. So I'm gonna get that used, and then I have a wire mesh strainer here. And then I use, it's not a tea towel, it's called like a bread sack or I don't know, muslin cloth. It's kind of like a tea towel, but it's a little bit thinner than a tea towel. Anyways, I put that down on top of this strainer. I have turned my broth off, but it is still really, really hot. Because this pan, this roasting oven is so heavy, I can't just pick it up and dump it. So what I use is a measuring cup and I just kind of ladle it in and strain it. The chickens are very happy on straining day because they get all of the scraps. I give them like absolutely everything and they love it. It's a really good supplement for chicken food. I mean, I've already fed them for the day. Like they've gotten their layer feed, but this is just an extra snack that they'll have this afternoon. And I just have a bowl right here. This is where I'm gonna put all of the scraps. So I just kind of take this up. There's still some moisture in there, so I just wanna shake it a bit. Okay, I'm actually gonna take this cloth off and just do this the second step, because there's a lot of moisture. Yep, and we'll just dump this in here. Okay, it's light enough I can dump it now. I had to take my glasses off. I was fogging up a little bit. So I'm gonna now rinse this container out just to get all of the extra scraps in it. Then what I'm gonna do is pour this pot back into here, and then I'm gonna strain it for a second time. That way I just make sure that I'm really not getting a lot of like the settlement that you usually get at the bottom of the broth. So I have a horror story to tell you guys. Last time I made beef broth, I went through this whole process, and on day 3, I was just kind of rushing to get things done, and I literally put this strainer basket over the sink and dumped all of my broth down the sink. I completely forgot to put the pot underneath the strainer and just wasted. My brain kicked in about halfway through the pour, so half of my broth had gone down the drain. I was so mad at myself. I literally started crying because it was number 1, bones wasted, and number 2, 3 days wasted of time. I was so upset. So ever since that, I have really learned my lesson when it comes to doing this kind of stuff. Slow down and take your time because otherwise mistakes will happen. So I'm gonna get this put back in, and then we'll strain it a second time. Got this all cleaned out and I put it back in. So now I'm gonna strain it the second time. I'm wondering if I should, while I have my roaster out, if I should get that second thing of broth started. I've been debating making a second one. Believe it or not, this does not make a lot of beef broth. Once I strain all of the bones out, I am left with like half that roaster is only like liquid. So I don't have a lot of it. And since the house already stinks, I'm debating getting a second batch going. It just takes a while to drain because I'm getting all of those little chunks out. I'll show you guys, but when I took this strainer off to pour back into the other thing, there was already a thick layer of fat on there. So this is definitely gonna have to wait the 24 hours because it is a very fatty broth. My tea's all ready now. So good. I don't put anything in it, just plain tea, and it is awesome. The bacon just came out of the oven. It is not crispy and not undercooked. It's perfect, so we'll just leave it sit there for a minute. And this is the beef broth. I don't know if you can see, but this all right here, all fat. Definitely needs to sit for the 24 hours. I'm gonna go and get this in the garage fridge so that it can cool down for the 24 hours. I've decided that I'm going to make another batch of beef broth. I was being very lazy and really just kind of wanting my counter cleaned for a little bit, because when you're making broth, that huge roaster oven sits on your counter. I do not have a big kitchen. I have very limited counter space. So for me, that's a whole bunch of clutter, and I hate clutter. Like, I like clean surfaces, and that is a lot of clutter on my countertop. But instead of me being lazy, I know that we have gardening season coming up, and I am going to be very busy with that, and I'm going to be starting to preserve my garden produce. I don't want to have to add making broth on top of that. My roaster oven is already dirty, so I've decided I'm not being lazy. I'm not going to have an issue with my counter being cluttery for right now, because I know it has to get done. So I am biting the bullet, and I'm just going to do it. So I'm going to go and get this in the fridge, and then we can start making our gravy. So we need to get the oven preheated at 350. It should be pretty quick because we just took that bacon out. And then we need to put these biscuits on a baking sheet 1 inch apart on an ungreased cookie sheet, just using one of my cookie sheets with one of my silicone mats. I love these mats. It makes cleanup super easy. Like, I just cleaned that bacon one off and I didn't have to scrub anything. Love it. So then we're gonna bake them for 16 to 19 minutes. And then while those are baking, we can get our gravy, so that when these come out hot, we can just put the gravy over top of the hot biscuits. I'm so excited about this. Okay, so we gotta open this thing up. You know, I hate opening these things up. It's like, you know, when you're a kid and you use those jack, and it was like, I swear that's where all of my anxiety in my life has come from, is those turny things. This is a lot like those turny things. It's like, is this gonna be the moment that my heart stops? We'll see. Gotta find like the spot. Oh, we gotta pull here still. Oh, there we go. Tells you where to push. It says use a spoon. I'm gonna live on the edge and we're gonna use our thumbs. Woo! That wasn't that bad. Okay, I'm gonna leave these out because for some reason I always throw them away, and then I'm like, wait a minute, and then I gotta get it out of the garbage. So I'm just gonna leave these out until they're finished cooking. Okay, so we need 2 14.5-ounce cans of diced tomatoes, again, unseasoned. Then we need 4 tablespoons of flour. I got my all-purpose flour out here. We need 1 cup of chicken broth. I have my chicken bone broth. Then we need salt, pepper, and then 2 to 3 tablespoons of bacon grease. So we got everything out here so we can get started. So it says pour the tomatoes into a medium-sized skillet over medium heat. Already I'm questioning. It doesn't say whether we have to drain the tomatoes or not. Let me just read some of the comments. We're gonna totally go off this recipe. I will leave it linked for you guys, but I was actually just reading the comments, and one of the comments in it, this lady actually mentions that her mom used to make this for her, and there's actually kind of a different way of making it, which I thought would be a better way with less lumps. She does mention she adds onions. We're not gonna do that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna actually take the bacon grease and then we're going to make a roux with it. So we're gonna add the chicken stock and the flour, and we're gonna make a roux from there, and then we're gonna add the tomatoes, and we're gonna do it that way. That way we don't have a lumpy sauce, because I'm thinking if I add the tomatoes and then try to make that roux, I'm gonna get a pretty lumpy sauce because the flour isn't gonna completely get whisked in. So we're gonna do it that way. I don't think that I can actually make a recipe and kind of stick to it. I always have to try to do a little bit. That's our oven, so we're gonna get our biscuits put in. And what did I say? See, this is why I didn't throw the thing out. 19 minutes. Oh, I'll use this timer. Okay, so let's add the bacon grease to our pan. So we're gonna get this turned on to a medium heat, and then we're gonna add about 4 tablespoons of bacon grease to this. And just enough. The commenter says that you could add onions at this point and saute the onions and then whisk in the flour, but because we're not doing that, we're just going to leave that out. However, I think what I am gonna do is actually add some granulated onion to that. You might add that in with the flour and then just kind of whisk that in together. That way we still kind of get the onion taste. Now the original recipe does not call for onions. So then we're gonna add 4 teaspoons of flour to this. And we're just gonna whisk this. I'm actually gonna add, I think, another teaspoon of flour. That does not look thick enough. I wanna make a roux with this. I'm just using my spatula just to kind of scrape the flour from the side because my whisk isn't getting it away from the side. This is a square pan, so the spatula helps. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cook this until I kind of get that flour taste off. I wanna brown the flour a little bit. Starting to brown up, so we are going to slowly whisk in 1 cup of chicken broth. Let's add our tomatoes in. I did not drain them, so we're just gonna add them in with the juices. We're also gonna add our salt and pepper. Because our broth is unsalted and our tomatoes are unsalted, we're probably gonna need to add a nice heaping serving of it. I'm feeling like I should have added more flour. Okay, let's get that salt in. And some pepper. You know what? We're actually gonna leave the onions out. We're gonna leave the granulated onions out of this. Definitely need to get this a lot thicker. I just gave it a little taste test and it's tasting pretty good. I think we might add a touch bit more salt. I am actually debating, because it is very runny, I am debating taking some of this liquid out and putting it into this bowl and then adding a little bit more flour and kind of making a thicker sauce and then adding that back in to thicken the whole sauce up. But we're gonna try to boil it a little bit and see if that helps thicken it a little bit. The other thing the commenter did mention that is if you do not have chicken broth or you don't want to use it, you can use water also. And then there was another comment in there. I can't remember what it was. Oh, also you can put some of those bacon bits in here. So you can crumble up some of that bacon and then incorporate that into the gravy, which we might do. Yeah, I think that I did not add enough flour for the amount of liquid that I put in. So I think we're gonna do that. We're gonna take some of this liquid out. The reason I take the liquid out instead of just adding the flour directly into here is it causes less lumping. I'm gonna add about 2 teaspoons of flour in here and just twist this together. This is just a little trick that I've learned to avoid getting lumps, like flour lumps or cornstarch lumps in your whole mixture, is you just do it separately like this, and then you can add it into here and it works to thicken it up. Definitely thickened it up, which is great. Those biscuits are smelling really good too. They have 3 minutes left. And I have this sitting at a medium temperature. I guess you can thicken it up however you kind of like it. This is still a little runny, but I'm hoping that it will thicken as it kind of starts to boil more. Oh, the other thing, I need to add a touch bit more salt. Give it a taste. It's good. I really like it. It's like, it's not too tomatoey. Well, I mean, it's tomatoey. Another commenter on the blog said that you can add a pinch of sugar to try to take some of that tomato acidity taste away. But I like it because I like tomatoes. And because we're using fresh tomatoes that we canned last year, it is like literally summer. Oh, it tastes so good. Biscuits just came out of the oven. They are looking yummy. And this is looking really, really good. I did go back and add another couple teaspoons of flour. I think the commenter meant to put tablespoons and not teaspoons. But again, I will leave the recipe linked for you guys. And if you want to read the comments, definitely do that, because I find that that's the best way when trying new recipes, is see what other people say about them. So I think what we'll do is we'll take some of this bacon and then we're gonna crumble it up into here also. It also does state, if you do not have bacon grease, you can actually use sausage grease, like I would imagine any type of pork grease. And if you don't eat pork, then maybe whatever grease you would get off of whatever sausage you're using or bacon you're using. I am excited. This is a new one, and I think that this is going to be kind of, you know, like a brunch, because it seems like it's pretty heavy for a breakfast. So I took 4 pieces of bacon and just broke them up and put it in here. Time to get this served up. So I'm gonna take a biscuit, just open it up, and then we'll put a little bit of this gravy on top. Yum, yum. And then a couple pieces of bacon on the side. Let's try it with everything all together. See how it is. Pretty good. I like it. Definitely like it. I think you guys should give this a try. I am gonna go and eat my breakfast, and then when I'm done breakfast, I am going to get another batch of broth going. Even though I don't want to, I'm gonna do it because I know that even in a couple of weeks, I'm gonna be so swamped with garden stuff that I am making broth is gonna be the last thing on my list that I wanna do. So get it done with now. Well, I don't have any other really big pressing chores to do. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. It was a little different. I was doing breakfast instead of supper, but this is a really, really good breakfast, and it's a really hearty breakfast, and I used all of my canned goods to make it. And not only that, but I got to use some of the biscuits that I bought at the salvage place. I think I only paid 99 cents for that package of biscuits, which is a really good deal. Actually, it may have been even less than 99 cents. They may have been 50 cents. I can't remember if they were 99 or 50. Anyways, super cheap breakfast. You can even make the biscuits yourself if you even want to save even more money. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you have a great day or night whenever you're watching this, and I will see you on the next video. Bye, guys.